Hello and welcome to Finance Foodie. I'm Catherine and today we are going to do a deep dive into the wonderful world of corn. I don't know if this is everywhere or just because I live in Illinois where most of what we grow is corn, but when we have fall festivals and go to the pumpkin patch, there's almost always a corn pit. It's like a sand pit or a ball pit, but it's corn kernels and our children are encouraged to play in it. I don't know if it's just a Midwest thing, but let me know in the comments below. There's nothing like picking corn kernels out of the washing machine when you forget to empty your kids' pockets after the fall festival. Anyway, let's get to the history. We're going to start in the heart of ancient Mexico. There existed a humble grass called teosinte. This unassuming plant with its tiny kernels clustered tightly together hardly hinted at its future glory. Back in those days, indigenous peoples of Mesoamerica recognized its potential and selectively bred it over generations. Through their patient labor and keen observation, they coaxed the plant to yield larger, more plentiful kernels. And this was the dawn of maize, or as we know it today, corn. With time, corn became more than just a staple food. It intertwined with culture, mythology, and economy of Mesoamerican civilizations like the Mayan and Aztec. It was revered as a gift from the gods, symbolizing both sustenance and fertility. The Maya and Aztec civilizations were deeply connected to the natural world, and with their religious practices were intertwined with agriculture, particularly the cultivation of maize or corn. Both civilizations revered corn as a sacred gift from the gods and incorporated elaborate rituals to express their gratitude and ensure a bountiful harvest. So for the Maya, corn was closely associated with the maize god, a central figure in their pantheon. They believed that the gods had sacrificed themselves to create humanity from maize dough, symbolizing the intimate link between humans and corn. So to honor the maize god and to ensure his benevolence, the Maya performed rituals such as bloodletting ceremonies, where priests pierced their bodies to offer their own blood as a sacrifice. These rituals were conducted in a sacred place like temples or caves, and the blood was often mixed with offerings of corn, jade, or other precious items, who represented the abundance of the harvest. To appease him and to ensure the fertility of their fields, the Aztecs conducted elaborate ceremonies throughout the agricultural calendar. One of these rituals was the new fire ceremony, held every 52 years to mark the end of a cosmic cycle and the beginning of a new era. So during this ceremony, priests kindled a new fire atop a sacred mountain, symbolizing the renewal of life and the regeneration of crops. Another important Aztec ritual was the Feast of Taxcal, dedicated to the god of Tezcatlipoca. During this festival, a young man was chosen to impersonate him for an entire year before being sacrificed to ensure a good harvest. This ceremony culminated in the consumption of a special dish made from the flesh of a chosen individual, symbolizing the god's sacrifice for the sustenance of humanity. In addition to these specific rituals, both the Maya and Aztecs held regular ceremonies and festivals throughout the agricultural year to honor the gods of corn and to ensure the success of their crops. These ceremonies often involved music, dance, feasting, and offerings of food and drink to appease the gods and to express gratitude for their blessings. As explorers from different lands set foot on the shores of the Americas, they encountered this golden crop, and it was unlike anything they had ever seen before. The indigenous peoples of the region had been cultivating and selectively breeding maize for thousands of years, resulting in a wide variety of shapes, sizes, and colors, and each adapted to the specific needs of different climates and environments. So the colonists, recognizing the potential of this versatile crop, began to cultivate it on their own lands, adapting it to new climates and agricultural practices. However, their approach to corn differed significantly from that of the indigenous people. One of the most significant changes introduced by the colonists was the development of hybrid varieties of corn through selective breeding. By crossing different strains of maize with each other, as well as other related species such as tenosite, they created hybrids that exhibited durable traits such as higher yields, disease resistance, and uniformity. And the colonists introduced this new cultivation techniques and technologies that transformed the way that corn was grown. So they cleared vast tracts of land for corn cultivation, also, displacing indigenous people in the process. And they also adopted practices such as monoculture, where large fields were planted exclusively with corn, leading to increased yields, but also greater vulnerability to pests and diseases. But of course, the journey of corn doesn't end there. It traversed oceans, adapting to new climates and soils across the globe. From the sun-drenched fields of Spain to the rolling plains of the American Midwest, corn thrived, evolving through centuries of cultivation and crossbreeding. Additionally, the colonists brought with them new uses for corn beyond traditional foodstuffs. They discovered that it could be processed into various products such as cornmeal, corn syrup, and cornstarch, which they found applications in baking, brewing, and industry. And perhaps most significantly, the introduction of corn to Europe and other parts of the world had such a profound impact on diets and food cultures. Corn quickly became a staple crop in many regions, providing a reliable source of calories and nutrients for millions of people. It also played a crucial role in the transatlantic slave trade. Typical colonists. The discovery of corn by European colonists led to significant changes in the crop, including hybrid varieties, the adoption of new cultivation techniques, and the diversification of uses as it spread to new regions around the world. However, these changes also brought about social, economic, and environmental consequences that are continuing to shape the global food system today. In the 20th century, science joined hands with tradition to revolutionize corn cultivation. Through genetic research and selective breeding, scientists have unlocked the plant's potential, creating hybrids with higher yields, disease resistance, and nutritional value. But it's not just a crop. It becomes a cornerstone of modern agriculture and industry. Corn is found in other products, from breakfast cereals to biofuels, from cosmetics to pharmaceuticals. However, despite the fact that it's a modern marvel, it still echoes its ancient past. Farmers still plant rows of corn, following the rhythms of the seasons as their ancestors did millennia ago. And in the bustling markets of Mexico City or the quiet villages of Guatemala, the aroma of roasted corn still fills the air. It's a timeless reminder of a journey that began with a simple grass and led to the creation of one of the world's most beloved foods. But you know what I associate corn with the most? Popcorn. So I wondered, when was it discovered that corn could be popped? Right? Like, where did this come about? Well, we're going to head back to ancient Mesoamerica and the verdant fields of what is now Mexico. So among the villages scattered across the fertile land, there lived a young boy named Tlaloc. I'm going to call him T. So he belonged to the Tontonic people, a community deeply connected to the rhythms of nature and the bounty of the earth. From a tender age, T learned the ways of the land from his father, a skilled farmer who tended to the maize fields with love and reverence. As T grew, so did his curiosity about the wonders of maize. He marveled at the intricate patterns of its leaves, the symphony of colors in its kernels, and the life-giving energy it bestowed upon his people. But of all the marvels, there was that one that captured his imagination like none other. Popcorn. Popcorn was a mystery wrapped in a riddle, a magical transformation that occurred when kernels of maize encountered the heat of fire. And he had heard tales of popcorn from his elders. There were stories of how it would burst forth from its shell with a satisfying pop, filling the air with its irresistible aroma and delighting the senses of all who beheld it. So he was determined to uncover the secrets of popcorn for himself. So T embarked on a quest that would take him deep into the heart of maize fields and beyond. So he spent countless hours studying these maize plants, observing their growth cycles, and learning to discern the subtle differences between the myriad varieties that flourished his homeland. However, he could not unlock the mystery of popcorn. Time and time again, he placed kernels of maize over the fire, hoping to witness that magical transformation, only to be met with disappointment as they stubbornly refused to pop. However, T was undeterred. He sought the guidance of his elders, wise men and women who held the ancient knowledge of their people within their hearts. And they spoke of the sacred bond between the maize and the gods, and how popcorn was a gift bestowed upon humanity by the divine spirits that watched over the land. So with these words echoing in his mind, T returned to his quest with a renewed determination. He experimented with different varieties of maize, testing their resilience to heat and fire, and listening intently for the faintest whisper of that much wanted pop. And then, one day, as T sat by the fire tending to a pot of simmering stew, he heard it. A soft, muffled sound like a tiny explosion in the light. And he looked down to see a kernel of maize burst from its shell, its white petals unfurling in the heat to reveal a fluffy, white morsel, unlike anything he had ever seen. And of course, with a cry of triumph, T scooped up that popped kernel, and he held it up for everybody to see. So word of his discovery spread through the village, and soon the air was filled with the joyful laughter and chatter of his fellow people as they gathered around to sample this treat. And so from that day forward, popcorn became a tradition among the Teutonic people, enjoyed during celebrations and festivals as a symbol of unity and abundance. And though the secret of its creation remained a mystery known only to the maize and the gods, T's name would forever be remembered as the one who first unlocked the magic of popcorn and then shared it with the world. But then, centuries later, another curious boy would follow in this tradition. But this time, his story would be intertwined with a change in society that created an association to popcorn with entertainment. In 1907, Orville Redenbacher was born in Brazil, Indiana, on a farm that was good for growing corn. From a young age, Orville had always been fascinated by the simple yet magical transformation that occurred when kernels of maize encountered the heat of fire, popping into fluffy white clouds of deliciousness. And at 12, he started growing his own popcorn. Well, as he grew older, Orville's passion for popcorn only deepened. He spent countless hours experimenting with different varieties, studying their unique properties, and searching for the perfect combination that would yield the most satisfying pop. He believed that popcorn had the power to bring joy and delight to people's lives, and he was determined to unlock its full potential. So when Orville was in the early days of working on popcorn, times were changing in the world. In fact, in the early days of cinema, going to the movies was not just about watching a film. It was a social event, a chance for people to gather together and enjoy an evening out. Movie theaters, often grand and ornate in design, became popular destinations for people of all ages. But there were not the wafting smells of buttery popcorn floating through the air like we expect today. In the early days of cinema, movie theaters were grand and opulent establishments. They were designed to provide a sense of luxury and sophistication, and these theaters often were referred to as picture palaces, featuring architecture, plush seating, and ornate decor, creating a glamorous atmosphere for the moviegoers to enjoy. So while there were concessions available at some theaters, the selection was typically limited. Candy, soda, and other snacks were occasionally sold, but these items were often considered indulgences rather than just standard fare. And theaters also had a really strict rules and etiquette guidelines that patrons were expected to follow. So, talking during the film, arriving late, or disrupting others were considered breaches of decorum and could result in ejection from the theater. And the focus was primarily on the film itself with minimal distractions or interruptions. But at this time, they were also moving pictures and they didn't have sound. So the experience of going to the movies was seen as a special occasion, so people dressed up for the occasion, and going to the movies was often considered a glamorous and exciting outing. However, during the Great Depression in the 1930s, when times were tough and money was tight, attending the movies offered an affordable form of entertainment and escapism. So despite the economic hardships, people flocked to theaters in search of distraction from their worries, and the movie industry experienced a boom in attendance. So around the same time, a clever entrepreneur named Charles Creators saw an opportunity to capitalize on the growing popularity of movies by selling popcorn from his street cart outside of the theaters. And Creators had invented a steam-powered popcorn machine in the late 19th century, which was revolutionizing the way popcorn was popped and paving the way for its widespread popularity. So at first, the theater owners were really hesitant to allow popcorn vendors inside their establishments. They were afraid that the smell and mess would detract from the movie watching experience. However, as the demand for popcorn grew, they began to see the potential for profit and eventually relented. So popcorn quickly became a staple snack at movie theaters, cherished for its affordable price, delicious taste, and satisfying crunch. The irresistible aroma of freshly popped popcorn wafting through the theater lobby became synonymous with the movie-going experience, invoking feelings of nostalgia and anticipation for watching movies, which we all now identify with today. During World War II, when sugar and candy were rationed, popcorn emerged as an even more popular snack option, further solidifying its association with going to the movies. And theaters began to invest in concession stands and popcorn machines, and popcorn sales soared. So by the mid-20th century, going to the movies and enjoying a bag of popcorn had become an iconic American pastime. The two were inseparable, intertwined in the collective imaginations as symbols of leisure, entertainment, and a shared experience. And Orville was in the midst of it. So he set out on a mission to make the best popcorn the world had ever known. He traveled far and wide, visiting farms and attending agricultural fairs in search of the finest quality maize. He experimented with different growing techniques and cultivation methods, always striving to coax the fullest flavor and fluffiest texture from each precious kernel. So by 1951, Redenbacher and his business partner, Charles Bowman, bought a seed corn plant and began experimenting with popcorn strains. They created a hybrid strain that they called Red Bow, which had a 44-to-1 ratio of popped to unpopped kernels. But Orville's quest was not without its challenges. Along the way, he faced setbacks and disappointments, as kernels failed to pop or batches turned out less than perfect. But he refused to be discouraged. He knew that great achievements often required patience, perseverance, and a willingness to embrace failure as a stepping stone to success. And then one day in 1965, as if by magic, everything fell into place. Orville stumbled upon a rare variety of maize that seemed to possess all the qualities he had been searching for: plump kernels, tender texture, and a rich, buttery flavor that danced on the taste buds like a symphony of delight. With newfound determination, Orville set to work perfecting his popcorn recipe. He experimented with different popping techniques, adjusting temperatures and cooking times until he achieved the ideal balance of crispness and fluffiness. He sourced the finest ingredients for his seasonings, carefully blending the spices and herbs to create unique flavor combinations that would tantalize the senses. And finally, in 1969, after years of dedication and hard work, Orville unveiled his masterpiece to the world, Orville Redenbacher's gourmet popcorn. It was an instant sensation, beloved by popcorn enthusiasts everywhere for its light, airy texture and irresistible taste. And in 1992, Orville Redenbacher's launched Smart Pop to meet the demands of health-conscious snackers. So if they're anything like me, popcorn is one of those snacks that can be savory, sweet, and sometimes gluttonous. From the holiday popcorn tins, kennel corn, the extra buttery movie popcorn, or microwave popcorn, there are so many ways to enjoy it. So comment down below your favorite popcorn, any toppings you swear by, like a box of snow caps on hot popcorn, which is one of my favorites, or anything else that you want to share with us. So while corn has been a huge staple throughout history, we now have an understanding of the impacts that corn has had. So while corn has been a huge staple throughout history, we now have an understanding of the impacts that corn has on our health and our bodies. So some of the positives of corn is that it's very nutrient rich, as a good source of several important nutrients, including fiber, vitamins, and minerals. It contains vitamin A, B, and C, as well as minerals like magnesium, phosphorus, and potassium. Corn is also really high in fiber, which is really important for our digestive health. Corn contains antioxidants like lutein and zeaxanthin. It's also a good source of carbs, which provide the body with energy and can be particularly beneficial for athletes or individuals with high energy needs. And it's gluten-free. So unlike wheat and some other grains, corn is naturally gluten-free, making it a suitable option for individuals with celiac disease or gluten sensitivities. But there are a lot of cons. It has a high glycemic index. So some forms of corn, particularly processed corn products like corn syrup or corn chips, have a high glycemic index. This means that they can cause rapid spikes in your blood sugar levels, which may be problematic for individuals with diabetes or insulin resistance. And although it's relatively rare to have an allergy, some people may be allergic to corn or have a sensitivity to certain proteins that are found within corn. Then GMOs. A significant portion of commercially grown corn is genetically modified to resist pests or herbicides. And while it is considered safe for consumption by regulatory agencies, some individuals may prefer to just avoid it due to concerns about environmental impact or long-term health effects. And I will be doing a future video on impacts of GMOs on both our health and the environment. So be sure to subscribe and hit that bell notification to be alerted for when we put out a new video. Another con of corn is its high calorie content, particularly when it's consumed in processed forms like popcorn or corn chips. They can be very calorie dense, and overconsumption of high calorie foods can contribute to weight gain and obesity if not balanced with a healthy diet. Some people may also find corn difficult to digest, particularly if they have conditions like irritable bowel syndrome or fructose malabsorption. Corn contains certain types of carbohydrates that ferment in the gut, leading to gas, bloating, or discomfort in sensitive individuals. So overall, corn can be a nutritious and versatile addition to a balanced diet, but like any food, you need to be able to consume it in moderation and be mindful of how it affects your individual health and well-being. So from a humble little plant believed to be sent from the gods to a global sensation and a star of movie theaters, corn has marked the food industry worldwide with dishes such as cornbread, polenta, corn on the cob, corn pudding, and global versions of corn soup. But with the shift towards corn syrup as a cheaper sweetener alternative, the food landscape in which corn is influencing the way we consume it is undergoing another huge change as well. Which leads us to our next topic, sugar and sweeteners. We are going to explore the discovery of sugar, the impact on the world, alternate sweeteners, and of course, the impact on our health. So thank you for joining me and watching Finance Foodie. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye!